Hey everybody, I hope you are having a great day. My name is Katie. I am one of the co-founders of Easy Air Rentals. Today we're going to talk about the question of, is a vacation rental right for you? If you're thinking of purchasing a vacation rental, then this is the webinar for you, particularly if you're looking to purchase a vacation rental in the South Florida market, which is where we have our expertise. So the first thing that you are going to want to take into consideration is that purchasing a property with the sole intent of using it as a vacation rental can be a great investment. If you are positioned correctly with, the right conditions in place, short-term rentals can very easily earn 2 to 3 times more than a long-term lease. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, so that it can be possible, but we'll be kind of getting into those a little more further into the presentation. Some of the other factors that, are wonderful about owning a vacation rental is that one of the number one reasons, I guess, that you would want to purchase one besides earning income is that you can use it. So if you are not local in the area, and you love visiting South Florida, you love to come during the season or the off season during the summertime, you can obviously just come visit your property anytime, and then you can make money while you're, owning this asset. So it can potentially be a real win-win situation. And then of course, just like any real estate purchase, over time, your asset will appreciate in value. So that's something that even if the initial purchase of the property, you're finding higher costs over time, that cost is, it's paying for itself and appreciating value over time. There is a potential for a high return on investment as well. It just, it kind of depends. There's different investments that do better than others, just like in anything. But we can talk about some of the things that we've seen, some of the properties that we've seen perform the best, the different areas that we find are the most successful. Okay, so first question that we always ask our prospective owners, is this going to be primarily a property you'll be using as an income property, just purely investment, or will you also be having some personal use for it? That's something that is going to definitely, I guess, just influence some of the decisions that you might make about the way that you'll use the property. If it's just an income property, then maybe the way, the items that you want to purchase in the home will be different. Maybe not something to your taste necessarily, or like you're not focused on that as much. You're more just focused on what can we do to maximize the investment. Pros and cons of dual usage. So a pro is the obvious. You're making money and you're also able to use that property whenever you want to come in town. For example, if you were to list the house with us, you could just say, hey, Katie, I'm going to be in town next week, or, in 2 weeks' time. Give us a little bit of time usually. As long as it's empty, though, we can block it off for you at any time, and then you're able to come enjoy the property. Con of, I guess, the dual usage, sometimes obviously availability will be limited, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you maybe have a little bit less availability in certain times, particularly like during the high season. It gets pretty busy, but of course you can always block off the time. You just, I guess, have to keep in mind that items, there will be wear and tear occasionally. A company like ours, we're very, very carefully checking the property after each visit from guests to make sure that if there's any damage, it's it's documented. We put in claims with the relevant hosting site and try to make sure we keep everything just, as pristine as possible. But of course, there could be some, things happening in that aspect. Okay, so location and demand. Is the property in a popular tourist destination? So our area is a very popular tourist destination, particularly during season. We're pretty seasonal here, if you did not know that. Our season lasts from about December through late April. That's when our high season is. And we get a lot of snowbirds coming down, just a lot of people visiting. It's beautiful weather in the 80s, low 80s all the time, sunshine. We get a lot of Northeasterners coming down to use um, to visit, and really from all over the country and internationally as well. Um, During the summertime, it's a bit slower. Our um, slowest times are May, June, September, October, kind of like that shoulder time where kids are going in and out of school. Those are typically our slowest months. And it's also hurricane season here is during September and October. So you're going to want to research the occupancy rates and seasonal trends depending on the area that you're looking in. I can say for our area in South Florida, our occupancy rates hover in the 60s to 70% area year round. During season, it's pretty high. It's probably closer to 90, and then in the low season, it's on the lower end of that. So, like maybe say closer to 45, 50%. Seasonal trends, very busy during Christmas, New Year's. New Year's is our most booked night of the year. I think that's the case in a lot of places, but definitely in South Florida. Time and effort commitment, guest communication, cleanings, and maintenance. So this is a question for those who would like to purchase a vacation rental but maybe are not sold on the idea of a management company. Are you prepared to take on the extra job basically of, managing the property, communication, managing cleanings, logistics for maintenance, any issues that come up with guests? That's where we come in, of course, if you decide that you do not want to deal with those things, because they can really become pretty overwhelming quickly, especially if you're trying to juggle that alongside, a full-time job or other obligations that you have going on in your life. Something very important to consider, very, very important, is, and we've seen this happen with owners who come to us and would like to have us manage their property, only to find out that they had purchased it to be a vacation rental, and then they realize that their city or their HOA or area does not allow vacation rentals, or has a daily limit to the number of like has, for example, a 60-day minimum for a nightly stay for guests. So that limits it a lot for people who are in certain areas. There's certain cities, like for example Boca Raton does not allow vacation rentals past a certain amount of nights. I think I want to say it's 60 or 90 nights, but so you just have to be careful to check those. They're always changing. The majority of our properties that we manage are located in Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach. We have some in Juno Beach, Jupiter, in Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach. Those are all great areas that we would recommend. There is a process to register the home with the city to make sure everything is in compliance. We have a great system for that, and manage those for all of our owners to keep everything up to date and make sure that there are no issues with some kind of just being out of compliance with the city. So it's very important to check on that. So financial considerations, can't forget that one. Utilities, repairs, insurance, platform fees. These are all things that that go into expenses after you have earned your income from guests. You have to consider there are taxes, there are tourist taxes that have to be paid. All of these things are something that, if you did choose to work with a management company, we set that up for you. So we would remit those tourist taxes to both the state and the county for you. On top of that, there are platform fees, like if you're going to list on Airbnb or Booking.com or VRBO. We also take care of those payments and send them to the appropriate parties. And then there are kind of the owner responsibility expenses that we do not manage or handle. That would be your utilities, like your property insurance, your homeowner's insurance. And then, of course, repairs that's something that we can help with, or we can pay, we can pay on your behalf and then charge it back on your monthly owner statement. Or if you prefer, then you can also deal directly with our vendors. We do not upcharge on any of our repair work or handyman work. We do have a handyman with our company who manage it, or who takes care of any maintenance issues that come up, and we're able to make it so that we can charge considerably less than like a typical handyman with having him on our team. So there's, of course, you're going to want to do your due diligence and think about all the different financial considerations. If you're going to be working with a management company, you can take into account those fees, the management fee and the cleaning fee, that, if you're going to have a cleaner, you're not cleaning yourself, you'll have to take those into consideration as well. Okay, so getting to what we find performs the best in our market and what we have seen that consistently is the most successful. Things have gotten a lot more competitive. People have gotten a lot more savvy with vacation rentals over the past 10 years or so. So here's what we find as the most important. Number one, you have to have a pool in South Florida or be so close to the beach that it's walking distance. I think one of those two factors is really important in differentiating yourself. Those are going to be the things that people are looking for. We manage properties that are located right on the beach, and that's a relatively rare occurrence unless it's in a condo. Those properties just always stay pretty booked. They stay pretty busy, and that's because of the location. You're definitely at a bit of a disadvantage if you're further located west, but it just means you kind of need to set yourself apart in some other way. Making it like a destination into itself, some sort of branding or some thoughtful way of presenting the property that's not just another house. Modern decor, well decorated, thoughtful with a theme of some sort is great, but mainly just well designed. That's so important, and it's something that you kind of don't want to skimp on. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend an arm and a leg on expensive, designer items necessarily, but you just want to be able to give the impression of thoughtful design and decor that is appealing. And also you might want to go a little more on the bold or like kind of unique, a little more risky, I guess you could say, side of decorating. If you're not planning to use it for your own personal property, the idea is basically you want to try to maximize the wow factor. So when guests or potential guests are clicking through these listing sites, there's so many different options for them. That's something that can stand out. The photos are super important. When we take photos, we have a couple great professional photographers that we work with. We try to get the best possible photos that we can. We'll do sunset shots and different things. We'll stage the homes just to really try to level up the our marketing. So that's something very important to think of. Pet friendly options, that's also another way to be competitive as well, that we have seen can be successful. There's also some other tips and tricks for maximizing bookings, but we'll get into that in a later webinar. So let's see here. Okay, the next one, which can be tricky here in Florida, unfortunately, but it is important, is insurance and liability. So having your standard homeowner's insurance may not cover short-term rentals. You're going to need to check on that. That's something important. Prior to buying a property, you probably want to get more information about that and understand, what the coverage expectations are like if you plan to use the property as a short-term rental. We have plenty of different options that we can recommend. One of them is Proper, because that's proper vacation rental insurance that caters to vacation rental homes. So another just important factor to consider when you are looking at purchasing. Marketing and competition, just touched on this previously, but professional photography, optimized listings, it's super important. You've got to do it. There's really no way around it. In this kind of market, you've got to have something that really differentiates you with your property in order to stand out and, lead the pack as far as success and income. Competitive pricing strategy, that's also very important. So in the same sense, you've got to be competitive with your marketing and your presentation of the property. You also have to kind of figure out where you fit in. If you want to go for a more luxury presentation, that's great. You kind of have to just find that appropriate place that you're finding that you're successful. Sometimes if you price, it can be a little tricky, but that's something, again, we're very well versed in, and finding that appropriate place in the market where you're not underpriced, you're not overpriced, doing a lot of research on competitors and where other people are priced at and nearby. Also, there are different little micro kind of neighborhoods that have different like levels of pricing that you can attain. Being in West Palm Beach, if you're on east side of US 1 or Dixie and the west side, there's different factors that go into it, especially during the season. So that's something to just consider and really carefully review the location of your property, all those things. And it's not a bad idea before you purchase as well to go onto Airbnb and just look at properties in that area in your neighborhood that you think are comparable and see what they're pricing at, and also see if their property is occupied by looking at the calendar. Another one, very important, guest experience and reviews. We have a 4.8 to 4.9 on almost all of our platforms. I believe pretty much all of them, Airbnb, Google, VRBO. That is crucial. You've got to have those 5-star reviews. The more 5-star reviews you have, the more people are going to see your listing show up in the listing sites. So we are crazy about getting good reviews, about making sure that our guests have the best possible experience. And that's something very, very important because, like I said, there's just a lot of competition. So you've got to be really standing out from the pack, and you've got to have that excellent presentation and excellent service that people are going to give you, the best rating that you can get. Long-term goals. Ultimately, you have to decide what is going to be your game plan. Are you looking to buy the property, rent it as a vacation rental for several years, and then retire there eventually? Or it's just a pure investment and you need to understand the numbers so that you can make sure that it's the correct move for you. Those are things that are important. Obviously, everyone's got a different plan. Sometimes plans change as well, but very important to just keep those different factors in mind. So in conclusion, a vacation rental can be very, very profitable with the right strategy. So there are definitely a lot of factors that go into it. If you have any further questions and would like to get some more of our expertise, particularly on our area that we're located in and the different neighborhoods that are best, you're welcome to reach out to us. You can find us at easyairrentals.com. You can give us a call or email, and we would be happy to help you out. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.